Today we're going to go over how to tie the Kreelex fly, the killer warm water, trout, and even saltwater fly. We're going to start off by tying in the dumbbell eyes. By holding them parallel to the hook shank, make a couple thread wraps before pulling tight, allowing the eyes to kick out sideways. Now you can start our figure 8 wraps, going under the shank and over the eyes. To pull the figure 8 thread wraps tight, make wraps over the shank but under the eyes. Use a thin or flow UV cure to coat the threads holding the eyes on. Then cure it with your UV light. Take a clump of pearl flashabou and hold it against the shank. With the cut ends up against the dumbbell eyes, you now can tie it in. Stop your bobbin 3/4 of the way down the shank. Now you want to grab a couple strands of gold flashabou, cutting them away from the rest. Now you want to tie in these strands the same way you did the pearl flashabou, holding the cut ends up against the dumbbell eyes. Advance your thread back up behind the eyes. Now you're going to take those strands and make connecting wraps up the shank till you reach just behind the eyes. Now you can tie them in behind the dumbbell eyes. Then trim the tag ends. Now you can take a healthy clump of gold flashabou and tie it in on top of the shank and behind the eyes. If your first clump isn't as healthy as you thought, don't be afraid to add some more. You don't need to untie and retie everything back in. One of the tricks to get the tag ends as tight to the eyes as you can without having to cut them is leave them overhanging the eyes. Take one loose thread wrap and then pull them down into place. If any of the tag ends are still sticking out too far, you can go in with your scissors and cut them out. Take a moment to trim and clean up around the eyes before moving on to the next step. Now advance your thread in front of the eyes. Now we're going to tie in our second clump of gold flashabou. This time we're going to center tie it in on the bottom of the shank. To do this, simply wrap the flashabou around the thread, then slide it up under the shank and tie it in. As you continue to make thread wraps, you're going to work towards the back of the fly, capturing the flashabou as you go. Once you have finished tying in the flashabou, you can throw in a quick whip finish. Then you can cut the bobbin free. Now using a bodkin or your scissors, split the flashabou on either side of the shank and pull it all back at once. Doing this makes it easier to cut it to length. Now you can cut it to length and discard the tag ends. Then all you have to do is do one more coat of UV cure over all the exposed threads. During this process, continue to hold all the Flashabou back until after you finish curing the UV cure with your light. And there you have how to tie the Kreelex fly.